Without speaking directly to the Lubicon, I'll do that in the second half. I think once upon a time, before the government's just come to pass, we had something called the Kelowna Accord that the Liberal government at the time put a lot of time and effort into. It was promptly put into a garburator immediately after Mr. Harper and the Conservatives took over government. Does anybody have any idea how many times that file in Native Affairs or has changed hands since 2006? Because I've certainly, well, I'm asking the question to be quite frank. You'll find I'm a real two-way guy here, so you gotta work with me. But I do know that in particular, the Aboriginal Affairs or Native Affairs files is passed hands several times. And just lately it's passed again, and we're told things are gonna get better, and we're told that someone is getting their head wrapped around it and working on it, and well, that really doesn't cut it with me, because quite frankly, the minister of whatever file there is takes things under the advisement or advice of the folks that work for him, the deputy ministers on down. They know full well what needs to be done. I just think they're not willing to commit the resources to take care of it. Regarding the Lubicon in northern Alberta, I think that regardless of who you are in this country, all Canadians are equal. We have a Charter of Rights and Freedoms that dictate that, separate from treaty rights, whether it's 4 or 8 or wherever they're at. The fact of the matter is they're all equal, and I think the problem with the Lubicon in northern Alberta, I think, has a little bit more to do with what's under their land rather than what we're prepared to take care of with regards to their treatment.
Well, thank you very much for your question. I think of the things that I have seen come from Parliament and from our Prime Minister since the last election. Of all the things, I think one of the things that scared me the most was when I heard Harper state that Canada has no history of colonialism. Now, this is our Prime Minister that said this. Canada definitely has a history of colonialism, just in case you were confused, as our Prime Minister was trying to do. I think that, first of all, we need to recognize, we need somebody who is aware of our history of colonialism in order for solutions to come forward. That's a definite prerequisite. Our platform, Vision Green, it's a very long document. It has policy on every area, and too much policy for me to read in this short amount of time, but I'm going to read a little. Green Party MPs will honor Canada's financial responsibility and the Aboriginal rights, treaty rights, and other rights of Aboriginal peoples, including their inherent rights of self-government. In partnership with Aboriginal peoples, work toward the creation of an Aboriginal Lands and Treaties Tribunal Act to establish an independent body to decide on specific claims, ensure that treaty negotiations are conducted and financed fairly, and ensure that treaty negotiations and claims resolutions do not result in the extinguishment of Aboriginal and treaty rights. Immediately implement the land claims agreements already negotiated and languishing for lack of funding, particularly for First Nations in the territories. Review all existing federal policies on self-government in consultation with Aboriginal representatives to ensure they are achieving the goals of Aboriginal people. Ensure that negotiations of treaties and self-government are not based on the extinguishment of Aboriginal titles and rights and on assimilation, but on reconciliation of rights and title, and that negotiations recognize the diversity of traditional self-governance. I could go on, but I see my moderator giving me the nod. And in addition to that, I stood beside students at the First Nations University of Canada while they were concerned about the future of their school. It was a hard experience for us all to go through, and I think that's another area where Aboriginal education needs more money, not less. Absolutely.